No problem in the Gambia. Welcome to Smiling Coast of Africa.
No problem.
No problem. No problem.
No problem.
No problem.
No problem.
These people are on holiday in one of the poorest countries in the world.
It's just the sheer poverty. You know, when we've travelled around, like yesterday we did a day's trip right out, away from the tourist place, and I was just astounded how poor they are.
It's like being famous for a day.
Yeah,
It's like being famous for a day. I mean, they ran after you, they waved, they wanted to hold your hand, they wanted to give you an address, they wanted to touch you. They were looking at you very closely all the time. One of the sad things was they were running after the truck, and the determination on their little faces was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, we now know why they run so quickly, because obviously they're used to running after
The
all
Africans
trucks.
run fast because they're running after the
and
truck.
When I see children like these boys selling peanuts on a beach, all right, so I know it's a thing they do, and it really makes me sort of well up sometimes, but
When I grow up, I want to be a tourist.
The Gambia, West Africa. As well as being one of the poorest countries in Africa, the Gambia is also one of the smallest. It's a long, thin country, stretching inland along the River Gambia. People have lived here for thousands of years, but the Gambia as a nation-state has only a short history. Like many African states, its borders were imposed by European countries who took control of Africa in search of power and wealth in the 19th century. For many years, the Gambia was a British colony, its people subject to rule from abroad. It gained independence from Britain in 1965, the year it attracted its first tourists. Now something like 130,000 visitors come to the Gambia every year. About 90,000 of them come on charter flights from Northern Europe. Most come from Britain, in search of winter sunshine. On the face of it, tourism has brought great benefits to the country.
Oh, immense benefits for economic development of the country, and it provides jobs for lots of Gambians in hotels, bar owners, restaurant owners, taxi drivers, tourist market vendors, you name it, the list goes on.
And the money from tourism spreads far beyond the frontline holiday workers.
And I benefit from the tourist industry. 10 people will benefit behind me. But when I don't benefit, 10 people will suffer.
Tourism is all the more important because the country has so few other ways of making money. It has farming, and there's fishing. But the only significant crop the Gambia exports is peanuts, so tourism is vital. But tourism has brought problems. Some are down to the holidaymakers' ignorance of local customs.
I'm not very much impressed by the way they walk through the market area and in the streets also, without no clothes on. It's very weird, people don't know that, so people start to look at them.
More difficult is the problem of the bumpsters. Beach boys who go looking for money from tourists, mostly with smiles, but sometimes with violence.
From our own point of view, we have had 3 last season. 3 of our guests were actually mugged by bumpsters. Well, I just think it's because they haven't got any money. There's no work for them. There was an acute shortage of tourists last year, and where you'd perhaps have one bumpster following one couple up the road, you'd find there maybe would be 6 or 7 of them chasing the same one tourist. And, some people just found it a bit overpowering.
The police are under orders to crack down on bumpsters.
Sometimes we have so many complaints from the tourists that they have so many harassment on the beach, like these big bumpsters. How are you? Fine. Where are you come from? And some guests doesn't like it, some they like it. That's why it's Inspector General of the Police with the Gambia government, they decide that we should secure our tourists not to have such problem on the beach.
But who are the bumpsters?
It was when I finished school, I used to come to play golf here. Sometimes I meet people who never come to the Gambia. And at the end of the round, they invite me at the place they stay, in a hotel or guest house. That's how I get contact with them. We see some tourists, they are, we don't want to say to people that you are racist, but some tourists definitely they are racist, Because you'll try to talk to them, they bullshit you or tell you, because maybe in their country, they don't like people bothering them. So here, we don't know about that because we are friendly, We are poor, but we are happy. When you try to talk to them, they can even insult you, And they think if you pay back, they can fight you or they can do anything to you or report you to the police. And the police won't ask you, they will just ask the tourist, what is the problem, So they will just come and, take you anywhere they want.
In an effort to solve the bumpster problem, the government has recruited some of them to be official tour guides.
They're telling the tourists you should only go out with somebody wearing a badge, but it's not really stopping the other ones from sort of pouncing on people as they walk out on their own. I don't know how they're going to solve it at the moment.
At the end of the day, the bumpsters aren't a cause of the Gambia's problems, but a symptom of high unemployment, of poverty, which tourism is failing to cure.
That is the culture shock. It's just the poverty I'm not used to, and the way we live at home. I don't think people in England realise how fortunate they are.
We actually went into one of the houses, didn't we? Which is an eye-opener, really, compared to what we live in England.
They want to give you their address and they want to have you as a sponsor for them in lots of ways. But I think by doing that, you're really only helping an individual rather than helping the whole community, and it's the whole community that needs more help.
Most people come on package trips, with both flight and hotel organised by the big tour operators. So from the outset, a large part of the tourists' money never reaches Gambians at all.
Most of the tour operators and transporters, some of them are foreigner in the country, and the money they are having, they are taking it back home. Instead of in the Gambia here, it's going back home.
Tourism guest houses, which are in most cases owned by Gambians. Through this, at least the money can stay locally. But if they only look towards contracting bigger hotels, and some of the big hotels are foreign owned, of course the resources of this country will finally find themselves out of this country.
And once the tour operators get holidaymakers to the hotels, they make it very easy for them to stay there, hardly leaving even to go to the beach.
I wish a lot more people actually would come from that hotel out onto the beach and really mix with the local people, because I do think that a lot of people do get the wrong impression sort of being behind there. As the guys on the beach up there, on the juice bars, they say, well, you're actually in prison there. So I say, well, I'm out on parole every day then.
Local craftspeople suffer lost trade because of the way holidaymakers are organised by the tour operators.
Local people get less opportunity to contact, and they get less opportunity to promote and marketing the product that we're having here in the Gambia, because of tourists are mostly, guided into a special way that the people who are benefiting more are the people who are the big investors who are investing, like the hoteliers and the tour operators, these traveling agents.
Some tour operators even warn of the dangers of being attacked if visitors go out alone.
So why do the tour operators say that then? Are they trying to scare tourists?
They will not call it scare. They're doing that for their business, because if the tourists stay in the hotel and spend the money in the hotel, it's just money, They're doing that, just want people to stay in the hotel, spend the money in the hotel, and spend the money with the tour, that they build their own tours.
When tourists do leave their hotels, it will mainly be on excursions organised by their tour operators, who often don't even use local people as guides.
When we talk of the people guiding the tourists, you have a lot of companies that bring in their guides who know little or nothing about the country. They go on a crash course for 2 weeks and that's it. That's what they do. You have a lot of Gambians who speak their languages, who have the knowledge about the country, and they can do the jobs better.
And the tour operators take holidaymakers to only a few favoured places, leaving others out in the cold. This is a private museum. It gives tourists an insight into the everyday life of Gambian people. Here you can see their handmade furniture and their traditional arts and crafts. It's a colourful, special place. But according to the museum manager, the big tour operators just don't want to know.
Oh yes, I have a very big problem for the simple reason that these big tour operators have not started bringing in tourists, despite the fact that I have written to them and I have advised them. I don't know the reason for it. I have a feeling that sometimes they take these tourists to places where they don't have to pay anything. They prefer taking them to there, whether that place is interesting or not. Because when tourists come here, I always do my little bit of interview. Ask them, how do you find the country? What would you like to see? most tourists always say, well, they've been seeing the same places over and over. Some of them would ask, are there no new attractions in the Gambia? And I have a feeling that there are a lot of new attractions here. It's a matter of where the tour operators take them.
Even the food that the tourists eat brings little money or employment to local people.
You go to the hotels, you find a 28 centiliter of, let's say, a tomato juice, which can cost as much as £1. Now, in the countryside, you have, or in the Gambia, you have a lot of women engaged in gardening, and they produce a lot of tomatoes. Now, what is wrong with developing the infrastructure, developing large-scale industry that can take that tomato juice, put it into cans, squeeze it and put it into cans for tomato juice to be sold into hotels? But this is not the case right now. Most of the foods in the hotels and other tourism development infrastructures are imported.
But perhaps the biggest threat to Gambian people is the all-inclusive holiday. This is the holiday where you pay the tour operator in advance for everything you eat and drink, and so have no incentive to go anywhere else in the country.
We are in a campaign in terms of discouraging all-inclusive holidays. They can do a great deal in terms of not contracting hotels that do all-inclusive holidays. I know this can be difficult in terms of their profit margin, but we feel this is not helping the local population, because in all-inclusive holidays restricts the guests within the hotels, and they hardly spend money outside the doors of the hotel. This is not helping the local population in terms of their gain in tourism development in this country.
Have you got on the oil? Not yet. Yeah. Right.
Feelings against the all-inclusives recently boiled over in a massive popular outcry.
So massive, in fact, that the government decided to listen to the locals and ban all-inclusive hotels, which was an entirely amazing thing to do for the smallest country in Africa, which is wholly dependent on tourism for its main foreign exchange. This didn't last for long enough, regrettably, because although the operators initially conceded, they put sufficient pressure on the government for them to have to retract the ban.
The Gambia needs tourism to survive, but tourism as it stands offers no real escape from poverty for most people. Is there another form of tourism which would serve them better?
Community-based tourism means tourism that's going to benefit local people, but more importantly that's being managed and run by local people rather than outside interests, because Gambian people best know what's good for Gambia and what's best for them.
At its simplest, community tourism means visiting the community.
They will be celebrating their independence celebrations somewhere around the 21st of this month. And they're seeking for donations. As we pass by, we want to give them something. If you'd like to give them something, as we pass by, you can just drop it in that box. That is obligatory, it's not compulsory if anybody wishes to do so. And unless you've got questions to ask.
The tourists get to see a real Gambian school. The Gambian school gets much needed donations. This kind of tourism can seem little different from organised begging. But other forms of community tourism involve actually selling things to the visitors. This is a tie and dye workshop where tourists come to watch clothes being dyed. and probably buy some of them too. To the workshop owner, tourism is vital.
The benefit of tourism here in the Gambia is very big because we almost depend on that. I mean 75 to 80%. And that's where we get our incomes from. So it's very important for us here, especially me and my mom, because that's all we know.
There are many Gambians keen to sell what they make to the tourists, if only they get the chance.
Let them come out from the hotels and meet the local people, see what they are doing, and listen to them, talk to them and listen to them, and patronize them, buy what the local people is producing.
So buy local.
Buy local, yeah, buy local.
Slavery throws a shadow over the history of these people. In the past, the slave trade took away thousands of their men and women in chains, in the process destroying their economy. Now, ironically, the history of slavery brings the Gambia money as it attracts tourists from all over the world.
Of course, that is a man who was abducted as a slave. Kunta Chinte, you can see Kunta here. People like him were a big target in those days. If you're very strong and fit, you're probably a very good target because that means you can stand the long and difficult journey to the plantation.
This is a village thought to be the historic home of Kunta Kinte, made famous by the best-selling novel Roots. It has an exhibition devoted to the slave trade.
Take prisoners, take them across there, sell them there,
The head of the village now depends on tourist money to live.
I thank God for receiving tourists here, and the benefit I get is the token donations they give me. What they give me is what I survive on, me and my family. Sometimes they'll come and take pictures of me and videotape me without even giving me a token amount of money. What I get is what I and my family survive on.
I think ecotourism means it's a personal feeling to some paying person who comes to visit a country and they go away feeling good. I think that is what an ecotourist is. For me it means ecotourism means bringing people to the country that are specifically focused on looking at wildlife or at the flora fauna with a caring consideration of leaving something behind when they've gone, and a demand on the way that their money has been spent or will be spent on the probably what for most people is after their mortgage and their car, their annual holiday, is their biggest one piece of expenditure per annum.
The Gambia has long been a favourite spot for bird watchers. Unfortunately, some of the most interesting things to see appear in the rainy off-season, when there are few flights to the country.
But when the rains break, various interesting bird species that nobody ever sees because they're never here in that period start to come into the Gambia. They're called intra-African migrants. Cuckoos that are calling, kingfishers are coming into the country. There's a whole array of excitement that not a lot of people see because they just simply don't come here at that time of the year yet.
Local guides can show visitors much more than the big tour operators.
You have so many areas in Gambia for bird watching that these tour people, they don't know about them because, they don't know very much in Gambia, that's why. But it's so many islands in Gambia that if you're interested for watching, bird watching, you will see birds that you never see. And the other thing is we have so many monkeys in Gambia. We have a monkey island that people, they don't even know about, you know. So many things that tourists don't see yet in Gambia. So.
This is Outer Africa, a shop in Herne Bay, England.
Don't look towards me.
Ali is from the Gambia. He and his wife Anita sell African art. But Ali's main love is music.
Gambia is an island of music. You have the Wet Wet Wet. They've been to Gambia and their first chart they hit was in Gambia, you know. So it's their music, spiritually, you know.
Ali and Anita are offering musical holidays in the Gambia, in the hotel on the coast which they own.
We offering a workshop that is going to be going to Gambia in the winter and have drum workshop in the beach with professional drummers. And it's not only drum, we go into those who are interested in chorus or other instruments, you know. So that will be a very cheap and very nice holiday to experience.
And that's traditional Gambian drumming and...
Traditional Gambian drumming and traditional Gambian instruments to use, you know.
And you feel that traditional Gambian music is very important to the Gambia?
Definitely, very important, because you only have your tradition.
Music has great potential to attract people to leave the beaches and visit the community. But there's much else about life here to interest tourists and at the same time provide much needed jobs. A number of community-based alternative tourism projects have been set up. But they currently account for a very small proportion of the visitors. And they all face the same critical problem, a shortage of cash.
Right now what we've got is an eco-tourism concept and lots of debate, lots of ideas. But the issues are that we've got no cash.
There are a lot of activities that need money and government is not prepared to spend that money on these activities. And it's a shame that whatever you gain is just kept back. The tourism budget has been almost the same for the past 30 years. And considering the earnings that government derives from tourism, it's enormous, and this is not pumping into the sector.
But currently, the government is getting less from tourism due to a fall in visitor numbers.
I would say there's been a decline over the last 2 seasons. It sort of seemed to reach a peak and, you know, it sort of went down and they're having a job to bring it back up again.
Rising prices are a major factor in the decline.
Having sort of spoken to lots of tourists during the last season, what they are saying is that for the prices that they're being charged by the tour operators, they can go to the Caribbean islands, they can go to lots of other places for less money.
In this, as in so much else, the Gambia is helpless in the face of global capital. Gambian people have little control over the tourist industry on which they depend. Their country is burdened with crippling debt to the rich nations of the world. The political instability of Africa at large constantly threatens their future. But with all its problems, the Gambia has one vital resource to fall back on: the creativity, optimism and resilience of its people.